Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to call to order the Finance and Governance Committee to order for 7/23/24. Madam Clerk, roll call and post into the agenda.
Member Basua,
Here.
Member Turan,
Here.
Chair Zaragoza.
Here.
We have a quorum. The agenda for this meeting was posted in the City Hall Bulletin Board on July 16, 2024.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, and please join me in saluting our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, our next item is public comments not on the agenda, and Madam Clerk, I have Mr. Henry Alvaro. Henry Alvaro. Is he on?
Chair Zaragoza, Henry is currently not available virtually or in person, but we have another virtual caller.
Okay, let's go ahead and take that call.
Caller with phone number ending in 4076, please press star 6 to unmute, and you have 3 minutes, please.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Committee Chair, committee members, city staff. You all make it very difficult to trust you. I think every taxpayer citizen has the right, absolute right to understand how you do your finances. However, when a resident asks a question, how this is done or where this comes from, you absolutely ignore us, or at least you do me. Why is this? Is this how you gain the trust and support of Oxnard residents? I don't think you would do that. I wouldn't certainly do that. I have some simple questions for the CFO, yet he completely ignores me. I even sent the same questions to each and every council member to see if perhaps they understood it. I received no reply from anyone. That tells me either you don't understand it either, or you just don't care, or both. Shame on all of you. Thank you.
Okay, any additional speakers, Madam Clerk?
Chair Zaragoza, there's no additional speakers virtually or in person.
And Henry Alvarado has not signed up, right?
That's correct. He's not available right now.
Okay, so then we're going to go to item C, consent item, the City Clerk Department. And this is the subject's approval of the minutes, and that the Finance and Governance Committee approve the minutes of July 9th, 2024 regular meeting as presented. Committee members?
I will move the recommended action.
Moved by Councilman Basua,
I'll second.
second by Councilman Turan. Roll call.
Member Turan,
Yes.
Member Basua,
Aye.
Chair Zaragoza.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you, and no speakers on this item, right?
That's correct, Chair Zaragoza.
Thank you. Our next item is item D, reports. Subject, implementation of the city's fiscal year 24-25 $20 million payment. Hold on a second. For the long-term debt reduction and pension OPEB. And the subject is implementation of the City Fiscal Code 2024 $20 million payment for long-term debt reduction pension OPED. Recommendation of the Finance Committee recommends the City Council, 1, direct staff to make an additional discretionary payment, ADP, to CalPERS in the amount of $15 million towards the city's unfunded liability, UAL. Excuse me. 2, direct staff to create hold on a second, direct staff to create an Internal Revenue Service IRS codes, Section 15 trust for pension and for post-employment benefits, OPEB. Direct staff to fund the pension, 15 trust fund initial for $2.5 million to fund the OPEB 115 Trust with initial contribution of another $1.5 million. And this is a pre-recorded presentation, and we have Javier, our CFO, for additional information. Councilmember, my apologies, I swallowed the wrong pipe. Anyway, I was looking at this item, Javier, and can you give us a little bit more explanation on the 15 million and also the 2.5? And my understanding is that by having some of those reductions, that over 20 years, we can probably save about $1.1 million. And also an additional $250,000 funding for the the long-term OPEB. And can you give us additional information on how basically it's going to work?
Good evening. Thank you for the question, Mr. Mayor, council members. What we're proposing is one of the steps for the implementation, kind of a long-term financial strategy for the city to reduce the long-term debt for the city. I just want to remind that the city overall has close to $400 million on long-term debt related to pension and other post-employment benefits, that's OPEB. And with this action, with this recommendation, we're just making a little dent on that big debt, long-term debt for the city. It's equivalent to close to 5% of that debt. So when we've been evaluating what is the most efficient way, or one of the most efficient way to apply these one-time funds that we identified through the budget process, we will look at the different options that the city had, and that's what we are presenting in our recommendation. These multiple actions. One is just to, like when you have long-term debt, you want to make sure that when you have a one-time windfall of funds, try to reduce that amount of debt to save long-term interest on that debt. It's like when you are prepaying your mortgage, you're saving interest in the long term. So that's the first action that we are recommending. It's just take $15 million of that $20 million surplus and apply that to that long-term debt that CalPERS is holding for the city. And that's going to save the city that equivalent to $1.1 million every year in future payments down the road. At the same time, and we have a chart in the presentation, the rate of return from CalPERS shows significant volatility over time. And with the opening or the creation or establishment of these trusts for both pension and OPEB, we are diversifying the way that we are going to be able to manage those funds. So we don't have to rely on the investment performance from CalPERS. We can basically just allow those funds to grow over time with different strategies than CalPERS. Additionally, everything that we're doing, we recommended just paying down long-term debt, creating these additional trusts to have funds that are kind of segregated from the overall budget of the city is also a positive or is viewed positively by the credit rating agencies as part of the commitment from the city to pay down that long-term debt. So that will be in it.
I like Javier, and Mr. City Manager and our folks here that on slide 5, talk about the recommended hybrid approach. I really, this explanation I really like. It says recommended hybrid approach. A $15 million direct payment to CalPERS provides short-term cost reductions. And then B, the investment of $2.5 million, two separate 115 trust accounts, reduces dependency on CalPERS, increases investment flexibility, enhances oversight, and allows a long-term time investment accumulation. which I think is extremely important, and I know that I talked to the city manager about that, because in the past, we had this opportunity to do that, and we didn't do it. Now, with the recommendations from staff, I think this is gonna help us in numerous ways, that I think is extremely important, by allowing, separate payments and coming out with a trust that I think, that money is gonna put in that trust that can be used to make those payments, using the hybrid approach. So I really like that slide number 6, which I think is really important. Council members? Councilman Tehran, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Javier, for the information on this. And thank you to staff for putting this together and bringing it forward. I think we had pretty good conversation about this and discussion around the surplus that the city has looked at for this fiscal year. Just one small housekeeping item. I believe, in the recital of the agenda item that it was just innocently misstated 1.5 million, and it does read 2.5 million on item number 3. And so it's 2.5 million fund to the OPEB 115 trust with an additional contribution of 2.5 million. So just for the record, just so that there's no questions about is it 1.5 or 2.5, it is 2.5 million twice on that. And so again, I appreciate all this. I hope that the general public can see this and see that the fiscal responsibility of the city is not what it was in the past, and we are thinking proactively about what needs to be done and what we can do with what we have. And so I really appreciate the city manager and our CFO and all the staff who put work into this in paying down this long-term debt. And again, as the CFO had mentioned, looking at savings of at least $1 million potentially as time goes on here year over year. So again, thank you for this. Those are my comments, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Basu.
Thank you. I just want to also kind of say what Councilmember Tehran says. I'm happy to see that we are making an effort to bring down our debt. So thank you.
So the recommendation is direct staff to make an additional discretionary payment to ADP, to CalPERS in the amount of $15 million towards the city's unfunded liability, UAL, to direct staff to create an Internal Revenue Service IRS Code Section 115 trust for pension and for other post-employment benefits, OPEB. 3, direct staff to fund the Pension 115 Trust with the initial amount of $2.5 million to fund the OPEB and 115 Trust with the additional contribution of $2.5 million. So motion, and there was
Chair Zaragoza,
any speakers on this item?
there are no speakers virtually or in person for this item.
Thank you.
I will move the recommended action.
Okay, moved by Councilman Basua,
Second.
second by Councilman Tehran. Roll call.
Member Tehran,
Yes.
Member Basua,
Aye.
Chair Zaragoza.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you. Our second item, again, Finance Department. This is the Fifth Amendment to Tyler Technologies Incorporated for the ERP Software and Service Agreement A 8767, extending the contract for a new 5-year term expiring October 31, 2029. Recommendation that the Finance Governance Committee recommended the City Council approve and authorize the City Manager to execute a Fifth Amendment with Tyler Technology Incorporated for an Enterprise Resource Planning ERP Software Services SaaS agreement for the first renewal of 5-year term in the amount not to exceed $5,450,000. And this again was a pre-recorded item per Measure M. And we do have I think, who do we have on this item that's gonna? Mark, any additional comments on Mark? I know that we've been adding funding to the ERP and also to our computer software, but I know that you need additional folks to put the ERP in the process to continue servicing the different departments and divisions. Can you add a little bit more to what you mentioned?
Certainly, Mayor. Hello, I'm Mark Sewell, Assistant Chief Financial Officer. So this is an extension to the initial 5-year term, and we operate those technology systems under license from the vendor. And so to be able to continue to use those, you need to keep paying your subscription fees, basically. That's the majority of what this new agreement speaks to. And as you remember from many presentations around the ERP, there are many multifaceted phases of how this IT system is structured to create the mainframe and the nervous system for how the city operates. And so we've launched a couple of the different modules already as part of the initial 5-year term. And we're very close to launching one of the other major modules, the payroll module. And then going forward, the licensing, permitting, utility billing, and asset management modules will come online in the next couple of years. And so again, to be able to continue to use what we already have implemented and to continue to develop what we are implementing, we need the ability to continue with Tyler Technologies. And so that's what this is.
In past presentations, some of the things you've done is have other agencies help you develop some software and so forth as consultants. And also additionally, you're helping the police department and fire department, with the ERP, which I think is very significant.
That's correct. There's one major contract that you've recently renewed with a project management company, and they provide some implementation support as well as production support from an IT standpoint across all of those features. So this is a very, very large project, touches a lot of staff, has a number of other complementary contracts associated to it. But this one before Finance Committee tonight and then hopefully in front of Council in September is the main contract in terms of the provider of the actual software system itself. They own the rights, it's their product, and we just license the ability to use it.
Thank you. Before I go to the council members, Mark, did the city got affected by that major blackout, whatever you want to call it, around the world, or
Certainly we did. We actually have the CIO, Rob Rubin, here, who's probably going to give you a little bit of a better explanation of how that did impact the city.
And the question I'm asking is because I got some calls of what happened to the city. So we're not super detrimental to us, is that correct?
That's correct. So we did have some impacts over what was pretty widely publicized toward the end of last week. I'm not going to go through the details of how the city does its cybersecurity posture, but suffice it to say, when we started business Monday morning, the first business day after that outage or that issue, we were business as usual.
Fantastic. Mr. City Manager, we're okay? Good, which is good news. Okay, thank you. Council members? Councilman Tehran? None? Motion?
Chair Zaragoza,
Any speakers?
there are no speakers virtually or in person for this item.
So motion by Basua,
I'll second.
second by Tehran. Roll call?
Member Tehran,
Yes.
Member Basua,
Aye.
Chair Zaragoza,
Aye.
motion passes 3-0.
Thank you. Our next item, item E, any items for future agendas? Councilman Tehran?
None at this time, Mayor. Thank you.
Councilman Basua?
No, thank you.
None for myself. If not, we are adjourned. Thank you.